Welcome to Pharma Stability Series. If you want to understand stability studies in a simple, practical, and regulatory-focused way, you are in the right place. In this video, we will break down a key stability topic step by step, including its scientific basis, regulatory importance, and common industry expectations. So let's get started.
So when you look at a sheet of technical data, what do you see? Is it just a pass or a fail, a simple checkmark? Well, we're about to go way deeper than that. Today, we're learning how to read data like a regulator and uncover the hidden stories that the numbers are trying to tell us. So, on the one hand, you've got this checklist view, right? A simple green check. It passed. Looks good. End of story. But then there's the regulator's view, and that goes so much deeper. They see that exact same pass, and their first thought is, but is there a downward trend here? What is this data really telling me? It's a huge shift from just checking a box to launching a full-blown investigation. All right, first up, let's talk about why we need to move beyond just a simple pass or fail. And this quote right here, it really nails the core idea. For them, data is a story unfolding over time. The goal is to understand the narrative. What direction is it heading? Is the story consistent from chapter to chapter? And does it all make scientific sense? Just taking a box doesn't answer any of those really crucial questions. Okay, section 2. Let's get into the data's story itself. This is where we start identifying those trends and figuring out the direction of things. Are we stable, improving, or, getting worse? And that brings us to a really critical question, doesn't it? Is a passing grade always good enough? Let's take a look at why the answer is often a big no. Okay, so what's so interesting about this chart is that every single one of these bars, they all represent a pass. Technically, they're all above the line, but hang on, just look at the pattern. It's a clear, steady decline over time. A regulator sees this and doesn't think, great, 3 passes. They think, uh-oh, this product isn't as robust as they claim. That downward trend is a huge warning sign that the quality is degrading faster than it should be. All right, on to section 3, the critical consistency check. So we've got a story, but is it a predictable one? We need to see if that story is consistent from one batch to the next. So here, check this out. We've got 2 different production batches, A and B. And look at that. Their performance is nearly identical. This is the gold standard, right? This is exactly what you want to see. It tells you the process is stable and well controlled, and it builds a ton of confidence that the product is going to behave predictably every single time. But, okay, now watch what happens when we throw batch C into the mix. Whoa, that is a completely different story, isn't it? It just jumps right off the page. For an investigator, this is like red flashing lights and sirens going off. Why is this one batch so dramatically different? This isn't just a data point anymore. It's a major plot twist, and it absolutely demands an explanation. So where could that explanation be coming from? Well, it could be anything, really. Was there a slight variation in the manufacturing process that day? Did they use raw materials from a different supplier? Maybe it was a subtle change in the packaging. Or hey, maybe it was just a measurement error, what experts call analytical noise, which is kind of like the unavoidable static in your data. A regulator is going to expect every single one of these possibilities to be thoroughly investigated. Okay, so we've covered trends, we've covered consistency. Now let's dive into some of the more subtle stuff. The hidden red flags that the real pros are trained to spot. And we're going to focus on 3 key areas. First, how close is the data getting to the failure line? Second, what's the deal with the packaging? And third, how do we handle those weird one-off results, the outliers? A result can officially pass, but still make an expert really, really nervous. Think about it. If your product's quality is already bumping right up against the failure limit and you're only halfway through its intended shelf life, how can you possibly be confident it's going to make it to the end? It's like your car's gas light coming on when you're only halfway through a long road trip. Sure, you're still moving, but it's a huge red flag. Next up is something that's so easy to overlook: context. Especially when it comes to the packaging. Your stability data has to reflect the actual container the product is sold in. If all your great data comes from a product stored in a perfect, airtight glass vial, but you're selling it in a flimsy plastic bottle, well, then that data is basically misleading. The evidence has to match the real world. And finally, what about those strange little outliers? The one weird value that just doesn't fit. It is so tempting to just dismiss it as a fluke, a mistake, but a regulator sees it differently. To them, it could be the very first warning sign of a much bigger problem. Ignoring it, or just brushing it aside, doesn't just look lazy, it screams a lack of scientific rigor. And all of this really brings us to maybe the most important point of all. You can have the most beautiful looking data in the world, but if it's not built on a solid foundation of trust and good judgment, well, it's basically worthless. And that trust, it's all built on good documentation. So are the basics even there? Were the time points recorded correctly? Can I actually follow the math and see how you got from A to B? If a mistake was fixed, is there a clear note explaining why? And are there any mysterious, unexplained gaps in the data? These details are the absolute bedrock of reliable science. And you gotta remember, at the end of the day, this isn't just a math test. A regulator is looking for scientifically sound interpretation. They're asking a very human question. Does the story you're telling me actually match the evidence you've shown me? So to wrap this all up, what we're really talking about here is a huge shift in mindset. It's about going from being a passive box checker to becoming an active data investigator. And if you remember just one thing from all of this, let it be this quote. The absolute smartest way to read data is to act like you're actively trying to challenge it. Ask yourself, what would make an inspector nervous here? Or where's the weak point in this story? This proactive, critical mindset is what really separates the amateurs from the experts. And that really leaves us with one last question to think about. When you look at your data, what is it really giving you? Is it just that temporary comfort of a passing grade? Or does it build real long-term confidence in what you're looking at? You know, thinking like a regulator means you're always shooting for that deeper confidence.
If this helped, like and subscribe.